Invisible Bear.
Okay, so I really like my trekking poles. I had carbon 4s, or Lecky carbon 4s, and they came apart in the mechanism thing. And they sent me a new pair and said that they discontinued the carbon 4s, and so I got a pair of carbon lights. And I really like the carbon lights. I like the strap. It's more fabricated than the felt ones. And yeah, and I pick up my trekking poles. Usually I'll put them in the ground, but if I drop them, so like usually I'll put them on the ground, and if they fall over, like one will fall over or something, I'll just pick it up. And I like to use the loops. I don't know how people don't use the loops. It's so much easier. It's like you just rest your hands in there and.
But you've never fallen or had trouble falling?
No.
You like the loops?
Yeah, I like loops.
Okay, cool.
These are my trekking poles. They're my babies, and they're twins. Oh my goodness! Twins!
Okay, so Fireball, tell us about how you pick your poles up.
So, when they're lying on the ground, I have a problem with just bending down and getting them. And the reason is because I don't have a belt for my pants. And so whenever I put my backpack on, I gotta get my pants just right so then they don't fall. And if I bend over, it gets it messed up, and then my pants are falling down for the next 2 hours. So we don't do that. No, I can either squat, pick up a trekking pole, or I go to great lengths, get my foot under it, and get it like that, or you can step on the tip, or step at this end, you know. No. But I do not bend over and make my pants.
So, do you like your trekking poles?
No.
Don't? Then why do you have trekking poles?
Because they make it easier to hike.
You don't like your trekking poles?
No.
What about them don't you like?
Sure, I go by Deuce on the Trail. I'm a class of 2014 through hiker. A few words about my poles. I started out with poles like this, kind of a black diamond type brand. You can see from the nubbin here that they've worn down about 2.5 inches. These are actually my daughter's. The problem with these is they don't work well as a sword. So I had a small argument with a tree that hit me in the head. I attacked it, and it parried my blows very easily, and I was left with a broken pole. So I got a new set like this with a cork handle. The cork handle is a lot better in the winter when the pole's cold. It's just a little bit of insulation. It's also got a little better trigger here, which I like. And I wish I had a pair of poles like this one right here, which Susie does not want to share. As you can see, it's got a really good trigger right here, but it's also got a nice beak up here. So it's really easy to pull forward when you're going downhill. So when you go downhill, I like to pull my legs forward and hit the ground. So that's all I have to say about trekking poles.
Do you keep your hands in the loops?
I never put my hands in the loops because I'm afraid I'll hit myself in the head.
You pick up your trekking poles.
When I come in for a break, I just lay them off the side of the trail. When I need to pick them up, I just bend all the way down to the ground and pick them up. The advantage of having long arms, and it's not that far away.
My trail name is Flicka. I'm a thru hiker, and I had trekking poles until the 100-mile wilderness, and then I hiked to our campsite, and I leave my trekking poles here, and then I'm over here sleeping, and then I hike back over there, and then they're gone. So I had Lecky poles back then, and they wouldn't give me some more, so we just found this and another trekking pole that we have, and but I think we left it somewhere. But this trekking pole is just the hairy trekking pole, and I have the hairy trekking poles. Apparently, when I found it at a shelter or a hostel or something, it had hair all over it, and the bottom was stuck, and it got a little spine like twisted. So this part, you pull it off, but it won't come out. Good. Put that on, and then one thing about these little guys, they have a nice strap, but I don't use it at all. They're corkscrew, and I'm going to show you how I use my trekking poles.
It's fine.
So I'm Foxy. I'm a thru hiker. Almost finished with the Appalachian Trail. The trekking poles that I use are black diamond. I love my trekking poles. I think they make it a ton easier to hike. They make it easier to hike uphill, especially on big steps where you can push behind you. And they make it easier to hike downhill, so you can put them in front of you to help you, just to kind of slow you down a little bit. I have tape on my trekking poles because I've marked them with permanent marker to decorate them so that I can tell my poles from the rest of my family, because we started out all having the same pole, like literally all looking exactly the same. So to distinguish them, we marked them with marker, but the marker comes off. So I've put decorated duct tape on them to distinguish them from the other members of my family. I started out always keeping my hands inside the loops because I did not want to lose a trekking pole like down a hole or off to the side of a particularly steep cliff, which actually did happen to my husband, and he had to go down a pretty steep little incline to get them, or one of them. But then my daughter fell and her arm got trapped behind the trekking pole and she got really scraped up, and I felt like that seemed like a pretty big risk. So now I just hold my poles with the wrist guards out, and I'm really grateful that I did, because that I have been doing that, because in the since then, which hasn't been all that long ago, I've fallen twice. I've tripped and fallen on the trail just walking, and my poles were able to go out to the sides, and I was able to just fall regular and not have them get in my way. So I was grateful for that.
Good.
Typically when I pick up my trekking poles, I just bend over and pick them up. But every once in a while, I'll, if I just drop one, I will pick it up by the wrist guard. All in all, I'm pretty grateful for my trekking poles. I really like hiking with them. I haven't worn mine down as much as Firebolt has. I think mine are still like twice as long as hers right here. That is really weird. I don't know what she does to them, but I love them.
Okay, so my name is Mossy. I'm a thru hiker, and I want to talk to you about my trekking poles. These are from REI. They're Traverses Shock Lights. I have had these the whole time. They're my friends, except for when they bashed me in the face one time when I fell. That was only because it was my fault, and I went to stick them in something, and then they slung back because I tripped and they hit me right here in the face. So you have to be careful when you have trekking poles. Sometimes you can have accidents. But for the most part, I mean, they're a little bit dirty now, and it would probably be good for me to clean them more often so that they slide better. But they're still together, and we're about to finish the trail in a couple of days. And so I'm happy that they've lasted the whole time. And they were not as expensive as some poles. Lucky, not naming any names, but they were not as expensive as those. These were only around $70 or $80, which I thought was a pretty good deal. And they have like shock absorbers in them, which you would think are kind of cool, but then if you're walking so much and you're listening to them all the time, they can be rather annoying because they have this kind of clickety-click that they do. So think about that if you don't like to be annoyed for 2,000 miles. But other than that, I really like them. And I don't put my arms through the loops. And when I go to pick them up, I stick them in the ground and I pick them up. But usually I stick them in the ground and they fall down. And then I just bend over and pick them up. That's how I pick up my poles. See ya.
Alright, tell me how you pick up your poles.
Most of the time, I'll just bend over and pick them up. But sometimes, whenever I'm really not in the mood for it, they'll be on the ground, right? I'll just like step on one end and try not to hit myself in the face while I'm doing it.
There we go.
Nice.
And then, or I'll just, you know, do whatever. Any way to pick it up. And I'll loop it through like this. And one thing that you might want to know about my trekking poles is I like to twirl them around like this because it's really fun. Move, Susie.
Cool.
So you need to be careful because. Wait. Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm Accelerate, and I'm a through hiker, and this is my trekking pole, and it's green, and it's from Lecky, and there actually used to be 2 of them, but now there is not, because the other one kind of snapped off a little bit. Now, there are 2 different kinds of ways to secure your pole as it is. Get out of there. The first, right here, is the clip. To use the clip, you push this part open, then you can slide it up and down, or down and up, to lengthen or shorten your trekking pole. The other method is the twist. In this one, you hold one end and twist the other. Left for loosening and right for tightening. Personally, I prefer the clamp, though both have their pros and cons. For example, the clamp has a screw that keeps it together, and sometimes that screw gets loose and I have to tighten it, which has happened about 3 times so far, and it's actually rather annoying because I didn't know that you were supposed to just take a screwdriver and do it like that, and I didn't know we had a screwdriver, so I spent a month with my pole shortening every time I put it down, which sucked. On the other hand, the twist one, it requires more contact with the pole and takes longer, which is really bad when it's cold, like right now. Another thing about my pole I like is the handle right here.
Yeah, now what happened to your other trekking poles?
Well, there was this time I really had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and I propped up my trekking poles right next to them. And then, when I was coming out, they were kind of hidden behind the door. And
Gas station, right?
And I was about to get this icy, and I was really looking forward to it, and I completely forgot all about them.
And this was in a gas station.
And it was in a gas station.
What kind of trekking poles were they?
They were red and black.
And they were,
And they
what
were
kind?
Black diamonds.
Aha, okay. Did you like them?
They were okay. I like my new ones a lot better.
Now, do you put your hand through the loop or not?
No,
Why?
because it's annoying and pointless. And I almost ripped my hand off once because I did that.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, geez, Gabriel, this is a stupid idea. I don't think I'll ever do it again. And so I didn't.
Okay. Are you able to demonstrate how you pick up your trekking poles at the moment?
Well, normally, when I have 2 trekking poles, I take one, put it through the handle of the other, and just kind of bring it up and over to myself.
How do you pick up the first one?
Normally, I already have it in my hand.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
Other times, when they're both down on the ground, I walk over to them. Then, I stick out one hand. After that, I bend low to the ground. Then, I wrap my hand around the handle or the pull part of the trekking pole. Then, I proceed to straighten out my back and, if necessary, move my hand to the handle.
Gotcha. Okay. That's it.
Kind of like this.
Okay. Ta-da!
These are my Lecky Macaloo trekking poles, the Trail Macaloo. From here up is the these poles have been reworked and redone, but Likey did a really good job of standing behind their product. The lowers in Pennsylvania, they kind of got caught between a rock and a hard place, and Likey was more than willing to replace from here down. And actually, on this one, this had to be totally, or excuse me, on this one had to be totally replaced. Hence the only original part, but Likey did a good job. Yeah, so Likey Macaloos.
Now, do you put your hands in the wrist
I
thing?
put my hands, which is a little bit perhaps dangerous, but kind of like that.
Yeah.
Seem to get more,
Yeah.
and I'm not having to grip all the time.
Right.
So I'm not wearing my wrist muscles and bones and not in the same position all the time. You kind of have some versatility, either holding or
Yeah.
push off like that.
Overall, do you like your trekking poles?
Yeah, they're nice.
Okay, cool.